Well, welcome back to the Recycled Cottage and Garden. And I'm going to show you um, how I do my pages for the journals. Let me show you this one. It's the most colorful. It'll probably show up the best. I've already gotten most of the pages for this cut and folded and put into 3 different signatures. And because the sugar skulls are very colorful, I've put colorful papers in here. Um, they're not all the same size. A lot of the paper I had is not the width or the height of the book that I wanted. But I am starting out with a black one. Most of these are cardstock. They don't have to be. Some of them are not. And I cut them to size. So you want your height and then double your width that you want for your page. Okay. And then you're going to fold them in half. Now my cutter has a scoring tool on it, which especially with the cardstock makes it very easy to get those folded straight in half. But you don't have to have one. You can just fold it over. So I've got some cardstock, and each signature is basically the same, but with a little bit different colored papers. And then I have a sheet of artist paper, some more cardstock with colors and white on the back, some gray cardstock. I don't know how well that color is showing up. And then I have some colorful pieces. I have some orange weird scrap paper I had, and some purple, which is white on the back. Those are thinner paper. I have another light gray. I have a yellow, which has a texture to it, and it's the right height, but it's a little narrower. Another sheet of white artist paper, and I'm going to end with an orange printed and white on the inside cardstock. I'm not going to totally fill this book. I'm only using 3 signatures, and I'm going to space them out. The reason being is this is so that someone can use it as a scrapbook type journal, meaning they can paste in their own things. Now, to do that, you don't want to fill it up all the way. You see, it's much narrower here than it is here. That gives them room to put their stuff in here and paste it in, and it won't be sitting like this when they're done, hopefully. Although I've done some that have that. With the spider web one, I kept this one very much dark. I'm kind of going for a gothic look. So I'm using blacks. I didn't have solid black for this one, so I had a polka dot. But I've got solid black cardstock, white artist paper, black and white print, and a black and white print on the other side. This is these pages came out of a package of fancier paper that was kind of glittery looking. So they're gray cardstock on one side and a shiny white on the other. I have one piece of a purple, dark purple, with orange on the other side. Some gray, light gray cardstock, more artist paper, and a little bit darker gray cardstock. A little more simple on this one because I don't want it to be that real colorful. I want it to be that kind of gothic noir kind of, it'll appeal to not just Halloween people, but some of those that just kind of like the gothic look. The one thing I do want to add in at this time is a few pages with lines on them. So I want to show you what I use and how I do it. What I buy are composition notebooks. I like the college rule the best, but it doesn't really matter, whatever you can get. Just to give you a hint, check your local Walmart. It may be a little late at this point, but they generally put some of these on sale for 50 cents right before school starts. Here, school has already started, and they don't have any more 50-cent ones left. But, you know, these are only $1 or 98 cents at Walmart. You can pick them up at Dollar Tree for $1, 98 cents at Walmart. The nice thing about these composition books, and I don't know if you can see that or not, but the pages are sewn in. So what I do is I take my little X-Acto type blade and very carefully, without cutting the paper, I run it over that seam area where those stitches are, and then it comes right out. Now, you can save these if you want. They're a nice heavy cardstock. So if you want to make notebooks of some sort out of these, you can. And I have done some in the past. But I've got enough of the hardbacks. I'm not saving these right now. Just got too much stuff. And if I'm going to be moving, I don't need any more. Okay, and then you just open them up and pull out the threads. I did have some at one time that pulled out all the way across. Let me get something to lift those up. Some tweezers. And I don't know why that whole batch of notebooks, all I had to do was pull this out, and it came out in one thing. And then the little short pieces were on the back side that I just brushed off. But, you know, it's not a big deal. You just grab hold of them with some tweezers or something. You can sit there and do it with your fingers, but it's faster with tweezers. Okay, and you're left with little holes on the, I don't know how well you can see that, but there's little tiny holes on the back side. The paper is fairly sturdy. It's just, you know, like regular notebook paper. I already have some separated out here. So what I'm going to do is show you what I do. I've got, let's see, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. With my particular cutter, it doesn't like to cut a whole lot at once. But it doesn't like to do one at a time either. It tends to tear because they're so thin. Well, thinner than like cardstock and stuff. So I generally do 4 pages. That's actually 8 pages. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 more on this side because it's all one thing. Okay. And the other thing that I do is, and I've already done it on these, is I smash this down real well. Here's something I do. A lot of people will show you bone folders when you're folding a piece of cardstock or a piece of paper. You don't have to spend that much money on a bone folder. If you have a lot of sewing supplies, you may have one of those little plastic things that, I don't know, kind of looks like a giant tooth or something. Those will work just fine. The other thing, what I generally do is I'll use the edge of my plastic scissors. It's a hard plastic. It doesn't leave any color or anything. And I just do it like that. And it works just fine on any kind of paper I've used it on. I see no point in paying big bucks for one of those fancy bone folders. Okay, now what I do want to do is cut this down to the right size. So we're going to leave my fold here, and for the sugar skulls, it's 5.5 inches wide. So I go to there, and then, oops, come on. Come on. Sometimes it does that to me. There we go. Well, mostly. All right. What didn't want to go, I'll cut with scissors. Sometimes it does that. I'm not sure why. It mostly cuts through, and then there'll be like 1 or 2 pieces it doesn't want to. Okay, and those need to be 9 inches long. So I'll cut those to 9 inches. And it didn't want to cut that one either. Okay, I'll finish it. Generally, if I try and cut over, it will tear it up. And I don't want to mess with that. So we'll just do it like that. Okay. So that gives me more sheets for the excuse me, for the Sugar Skull journal. I'm going to go ahead and do another set. And how many I do, tell you what, it all depends on how thick I want it. I'm going to do it this way since it wants to be cantankerous. I got a cricket in here somewhere. I hate when that happens because they'll sing all night long. Keeps me from sleeping. Okay, 5.5. See it with that light. Getting the glare off the light on that metal ruler. I have not found the perfect ruler yet. I like this metal one because it's thin, but it sometimes gets a glare on it. Maybe the problem is I have the wrong lighting, which isn't very good. It's just a little desk lamp. But it works. It gets the job done. Okay, there we go. It likes 4 pages more than 8. And 9. I know this is probably a bit boring, isn't it? Oh well, we're almost done. There we go. So then I can go ahead and put them in with the signatures. And what I'll do is I've got 3 signatures and I'll space them out. Probably do, I got 1 or 2. Let's do 1. Do 1 inside. And another one. I'll probably have to cut some more. But that's okay. And I put them all together, put their signatures together, and I'll show you in a different video the process for laying out where to punch the holes and for the sewing on it, because that'll fill up a whole nother video. And as you can see, they stick out, but that's okay. They don't stick out of the book, and it makes it a little more interesting. I've got some pages in here that are oddball shape anyway. I'll show you a really cool one. I don't know if you'll be able to see it much. Here, let's do it on here. I don't know if you can see that, but this is like a very thin tracing paper kind of paper. It's actually embossed with spider webs. So each book is getting one little piece of that because that's all I had. only had one little piece, so I chopped it in half to share. And it'll have to go in the middle so that the stitches will hold it in. And I didn't get a whole lot of anything else done today. I don't know. I really wasn't feeling all that great today. Not sure why. Had a sinus headache that bad this morning. We've got, I apparently have an allergy to cedar trees. I knew when I lived in Houston area, I had an allergy to pine pollen. Well, cedar lets out their pollen in the fall, whereas the pine trees let it out in the spring. I have no idea what's going to happen when I get to Colorado. There's a lot of pine trees there. So I don't know. I used to just stay inside a lot. But in Houston, I mean, you could go out in the morning and, you know, your car could be perfectly clean. And once those pine trees start popping that pollen out, you go out in the morning and your used to be white car or used to be gray car or used to be whatever car is now yellow with covered in pine pollen.